do every. Usually I wait till January 12th. And then I come and I pick up all the Christmas flowers and I put out artificial because I can't afford real. Because I do 11 graves, you know, including this.
So 11 graves.
11, but you know what? When I'm done, it's all boys to follow locally, so it won't get done. Because I even do some of their parents. I said, Charlie, when's the last time you've been to your parents' grave when I buried them? Okay, starting
Guess the
near.
last time I was here.
Yeah,
Okay, right, she's gonna give y'all a history lesson.
This is your father's grave, and it's marked his birth and his death. And then his father, Albert, your grandfather, who was my great uncle. And so my great uncle was Albert, and married to Aunt Leona, who's buried, I think, in Lauraville. Okay? And so that this is his grave. Now, the main grave in the middle is the one that was a congressman. He was a senator and representative, and he died in office, and I'll tell you more about that later. And he was the brother of Albert. Albert's brother was Robert Broussard, known locally as Cousin Bob. If you go into the courthouse on Iberia Street, that's one street over, just across the track, and you go inside the courthouse, as soon as you enter, not 5 feet in front of you, is a head, close to being a bust, of Cousin Bob Broussard, about this big. Upon entry, he was well loved here. He died in office. When he died in office, my grandfather, Edwin S. Broussard, went into office in his place and was elected several times as a senator from Louisiana. He's buried over there with his wife in the Patou. He married Marie Patou Broussard, and they're buried at the Patou grave over there. So that would be 3 brothers. That would be Albert, Robert, and then Edwin S. over there. And this is the grave here. Now, moving over here to the oldest one that were buried here were the parents of Albert, parents of Robert, parent of Edwin S. And her name was Anastasia, which is Anastasia, as you know. She was a Gosselin, and she married John Darville Broussard, and she became Anastasie Gosselin Broussard. Also in here is her father, late Louzin, in French, Louzin Gosselin, and then it tells you his date of birth and death. So we got 3 here, 1 here, and 2 there. And I remember when Margie came in, she says, well, they're not here. They've gone down. What they did do, they took the bones that were in here and they put them down lower. They dug the lower because the church had requested that if you couldn't keep them up when they're tall, bring them down lower. Thus, they are here. In fact, when the grave diggers came, they found a baby's bones here. We don't know anything about that, but it was evidently there was a baby. Now, this family, Anastasie Gosselin, who is Mrs. John Darville Broussard, it's an amazing woman. She had 15 children. My grandfather was never 15, but they were 14 above him. And I think they were within 22 years she'd had the 15 children. And it was one summer in the 1800s. I wish I had the exact year, but you could see it on the records in that red book.
In the red book that you all always want.
Right, that I made. Okay, one summer, a terrible yellow fever or scarlet fever or some type of epidemic came through, and she buried 5 of her children. And the older ones survived because she sent them elsewhere to live while this epidemic went through the household. She and her husband survived. Evidently, they had immunities from maybe having it prior years. And then she had a few more after that, of which my grandfather was one of those born after that terrible